Yes, hello. Okay, today I am going to talk a little bit, an introduction to biology. What is biology? And I think it's one of the easiest things to describe as to what biology is. And if you take a minute to think what it is, it's quite easy to say that it is the study of life. Biology. Okay, so bio, living, logic. Right, the word logic comes from lology, so study of life. Okay, so why might you study biology? Well, you're going to be curious about things. So some of the things, ideas that I have about things that you may be curious about, could be this little animal. Forget the name of it, but this animal can regenerate and regrow its tail. So you might be curious about, this is something here that can regenerate. How can it do that? Or you may see some strange animals, such as this one, and you might wonder, why has this animal got a strange feature? In this case, it would be a big nose. How does it work? You may also ask, how does it work? The book suggests these as being interesting species. And the interesting species here is something called a leaf cutter ant, which goes and grows some fungus for itself to eat. And the other ones are these carnivorous plants, which there's the one in the middle here, this one in the middle, is, I think it's adapted, the fly will go into the cup and it won't be able to get out again. And it will take that nutrition into the plant. Apparently they're all evolved from leaves. Okay, and of course every kid's favourite animal as being interesting is the platypus. Because it's a mammal that has a duck's bill-like attachment. And it also, or there's some other interesting, it's got hair, so it is a mammal, it's got some other mammalian type features. But it has got this duck's bill, and I think there are some other features interesting about the platypus. Okay, so when we take something that's interesting in nature, like this seahorse, we can't study it in isolation. If we want to know about its adaptation or study it, we have to look at its environment. If we took this in a laboratory situation, we might not appreciate just how camouflaged it is for its environment, how it's adapted for its environment to be camouflaged. So let's take a look, and through the study of biology, we can develop technologies that may be useful for us. What are the characteristics of living things? Okay, so you might think, hey, if something is alive, I know something, I can distinguish usually between something that's alive and something that's dead. Something that's alive can move. Something that's alive can grow. Something that's alive can reproduce. But if you think about it, this here, as said in the book, this here, can it move a flame? A flame, can it move? Yes, it can move. Flickers in wind. Can it reproduce? Yes, it can reproduce. You can light, 10 other candles with that, from that candle. And what's the other one? Can it grow? Yes, so if you burn, it can grow by burning a whole bunch of different stuff. So, what? An organism has to have all the characteristics of life. So it's not just enough to have 3 or 4. We're going to go through some of the characteristics of life, which is required by, all of these have to be checked in order for something to be alive. So the first one, you may guess what this one refers to. Could refer to a couple of things, but it's going to refer to structure. Alright, you can see in that last slide there was a cell, and it was structure. There was a nucleus, there were spindles. It wasn't just a mess like inorganic or non-living stuff. They just tend to be a bit of a mess. And of course the very important one, which we already mentioned, look at this and think what I'm thinking of. Reproduction, which is to produce young. Another one, which is required for life. What could that be? That's growth and development. And the interesting thing about this is even a single-celled organism, even that grows and develops. Obviously, we grow and develop. We grow and we develop. We certainly get bigger as babies, and we develop, get stronger, and so on and so forth. Alright, this one might be a bit weird, and you might not think, what on earth is he talking about here? But this guy is stimulus and response to the environment. So in that picture I showed, he's responding to the rain coming down. For an animal, if you touch it, it would respond, or that's every living thing responds to the environment. Single-celled organism will swim towards sugar. Plants will grow towards the south, where the sun is strongest. They respond to their environment. You kick something and it doesn't move, it doesn't respond. It's a good indication that thing is dead. So response to the stimulus and response to the environment. Now this one is a little bit of a hard one, but this one, can you guess? Have a think about this one. What was it measuring? Yeah, it's measuring sugar content in the blood. And homeostasis, the maintenance of a steady state, whether it's our temperature, or in that case it was the amount of sugar in our blood. We can't allow our temperature to go too high, we can't allow our temperature to go too low. So homeostasis, the maintenance of a steady state. Not too high sugar, not too low sugar. Something that's alive will maintain a steady state in some factors. This one is metabolism. Right, so all living things need energy. Alright, and they either make their own energy like plants, and they also consume the energy that they make plants do. Or we as heterotrophs, we're going to eat the primary consumers, the plants, the autotrophs, we will eat them. Just like. And also herbivores eat them, and of course carnivores. They all have a way of making energy, because this structure is kind of related to the structure one. You don't get structure for free. Everyone tends to go into entropy without energy being put into the system, and that's metabolism for us. Okay, I can't remember exactly why I put this back here again. Oh, it's an adaptation. Adaptation is a group of, this is how, an adaptation, many adaptations can lead to the evolution of a new species. So adaptation, yeah, that's one of the characteristics needed for life. So the scientific method. What are the steps in the scientific method? Make an observation and ask a question. So you see something, you don't know what's causing it, and you ask the question, you're sort of curious. In the case of what I'm going to talk about right now is the idea that used to be around, that raw meat would spontaneously give these maggots, these flies. Biogenesis it was called, spontaneous. Spontaneously the meat would produce maggots. So the man who questioned this, I forget his name, but he constructed a hypothesis that perhaps it wasn't the meat spontaneously generating, dead meat spontaneously generating maggots, but that the flies had been laying their eggs there. So he designed and carried out an experiment, and this is the second stage of scientific method. Alright, so he covered the meat with a stopper in one, and the other two he left it open to the air. And I think the middle one is a sort of gauze net, and you can see that the maggots, dependent variable, and there is a dependent and independent variable. So the dependent variable here was the presence or absence of maggots on the meat, and the independent variable would be you putting the stopper on one of the flasks. Alright, and we have lots of laboratory equipment for analysing results. The example that I gave was a very simple example. All you'd need is your eyes, but for many experiments there's a whole repertoire of equipment needed. The scientific equipment, which we just saw. The analysis of the experiment, I gave an example, was very easy, but sometimes it's not so easy, it's a little bit complex. Okay, so you have to analyse the data to see what hypothesis is supported. And in our example, the hypothesis that's supported is that biogenesis doesn't happen by itself. There needs to be flies landing on and laying eggs on the meat. Once you have your experiment done, you can publish it. If it's a great experiment, maybe it'll go in that journal right there. Okay, so the results and conclusions are reported to scientific journals. And then other scientists are going to have a try. They're going to read what you've done, they're going to go through your procedure, and they're going to see, do they get the same results, which would validate or verify your experimental results. Theory. Okay, so theory is a hypothesis that is supported by many different observations and experiments. This word, theory, in a scientific sense, that's the definition. It's not a hunch, like it is commonly used in everyday life. Like I have a theory that some player joining a team will make them play better. A theory is more like the theory of evolution, which means there's so many experiments that support it. Or the theory of relativity. There are so many experiments point towards this theory being true. Scientists use the SI system. So it's not the American system or the English system that uses degrees Fahrenheit, but instead uses Kelvin for meter, ampere. Okay, all of them, you can leave them. And the point is that they're based on a decimal system, so easier to work with. So the question is science good or is science bad? Well, it's neither. So you might look at the advances in atomic theory and manipulating atomic atoms, and you may say, oh, science is bad. It led to the creation of atomic bombs. But at the same time, the same atomic theory led to the development of nuclear energy, which is a clean way of providing energy for people. So the science itself is just about truth. It's neither good nor bad. It can help, perhaps, our society, or it could make things worse, dependent on, maybe just dependent on the people, I guess. Okay, and that's all I've got to say. Good luck.